What if you could stop your mind from causing you pain? Imagine a life free from the constant burden of psychological suffering. It's a possibility that might seem out of reach, but it's closer than you think. In this video, we'll explore how to end psychological suffering and find lasting peace and happiness. Psychological suffering is a common experience that affects countless people worldwide. It's the mental and emotional pain we feel when faced with life's challenges, negative thoughts, and difficult emotions. This suffering can manifest in various ways, from anxiety and depression to stress and feelings of worthlessness. It often impacts our daily lives, relationships, and overall well-being, making it hard to enjoy life fully. Many people struggle to overcome psychological suffering because it can feel overwhelming and deeply ingrained. Our minds have a tendency to dwell on negative thoughts and emotions, creating a cycle that's hard to break. We might believe that our suffering is an unavoidable part of life or that we're somehow flawed for experiencing it. These beliefs only compound the problem, making it even more challenging to find relief. To understand how to end psychological suffering, we need to examine its root causes. One major factor is negative thought patterns. Our minds often default to pessimistic or critical thinking, constantly judging ourselves and our experiences. These thoughts can become habitual, coloring our perception of the world and ourselves in a negative light. Another significant cause is emotional resistance. Many of us have been taught to suppress or ignore our feelings, especially those we perceive as negative or uncomfortable. This resistance creates inattention and actually intensifies our suffering. By trying to push away our emotions, we paradoxically give them more power over us. Unhelpful beliefs also play a crucial role in perpetuating psychological suffering. We may hold on to limiting ideas about ourselves, others, or the world that keep us stuck in patterns of pain. These beliefs often operate below our conscious awareness, influencing our thoughts and behaviors without us realizing it. When faced with psychological suffering, it's natural to want to escape or avoid it. We might turn to distractions like excessive TV watching, social media scrolling, or other forms of entertainment. Some people use food, alcohol, or other substances to numb their feelings. While these methods might provide temporary relief, they don't address the underlying causes of our suffering. In fact, they often create additional problems and prevent us from developing healthier coping mechanisms. Instead of trying to escape our psychological suffering, a more effective approach is to cultivate mindfulness. Mindfulness involves paying attention to our present moment experiences without judgment. It allows us to observe our thoughts and feelings with curiosity and compassion rather than getting caught up in them or trying to push them away. Practicing mindfulness helps us create space between ourselves and our suffering. We learn to see our thoughts and emotions as passing experiences rather than absolute truths. This perspective shift can significantly reduce the intensity of our psychological pain and give us more control over our reactions to it. To develop mindfulness, we can start with simple practices like focusing on our breath or observing our bodily sensations. Regular meditation, even for just a few minutes a day, can help train our minds to be more present and less reactive. As we become more mindful, we naturally start to experience less psychological suffering. Closely related to mindfulness is the practice of acceptance. This doesn't mean resigning ourselves to suffering or giving up on positive change. Instead, acceptance involves acknowledging our current experiences without resistance. When we accept our thoughts and feelings as they are, we stop fighting against reality and free up energy to respond more effectively. Learning to sit with discomfort is a crucial skill in ending psychological suffering. Often, it's our attempts to avoid or eliminate uncomfortable feelings that cause us the most pain. By allowing ourselves to experience difficult emotions without trying to change them, we discover that they naturally come and go. This process helps us build resilience and reduces the power these feelings have over us. We can even learn to use our challenges as opportunities for growth. Each difficult experience becomes a chance to practice patience, compassion, and self-understanding. Over time, this approach can transform our relationship with suffering, making it less threatening and more manageable. Reframing our thoughts is another powerful tool for ending psychological suffering. Our minds are constantly generating thoughts, many of which are negative or unhelpful. By learning to identify these thoughts and challenge their validity, we can significantly reduce their impact on our well-being. Start by becoming aware of your inner dialogue. Notice when you're engaging in negative self-talk or making pessimistic assumptions. Once you've identified these thoughts, question them. Are they based on facts or just habitual patterns? Is there another way to look at the situation? You can then practice replacing unhelpful thoughts with more balanced or positive ones. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or forcing false positivity. Instead, it's about finding more accurate and constructive ways of interpreting your experiences. With practice, this process becomes more natural and automatic, leading to a more positive mindset overall. Building emotional intelligence is crucial in reducing psychological suffering. This involves developing a better understanding of your own emotions and learning how to manage them effectively. Start by paying attention to your feelings throughout the day. Notice what triggers different emotions and how they manifest in your body. As you become more aware of your emotions, you can start to respond to them more skillfully. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a moment to pause and consider how you want to handle the situation. This approach allows you to make choices that align with your values and long-term well-being, rather than being driven by momentary feelings. Creating new habits is essential for long-term relief from psychological suffering. Small, consistent actions can lead to significant changes over time. Consider incorporating daily practices that support your mental well-being. This might include setting aside time for relaxation, engaging in regular physical exercise, or keeping a gratitude journal. Start with small, achievable goals and gradually build on them. For example, you might begin with just 5 minutes of meditation each day, then slowly increase the duration as it becomes more comfortable. Remember that consistency is more important than perfection. Even if you miss a day or don't do something perfectly, keep coming back to your positive habits. Connecting with others plays a vital role in reducing psychological suffering. Humans are social beings, and we thrive on meaningful relationships. Building and maintaining supportive connections can provide comfort, perspective, and a sense of belonging. Don't be afraid to reach out to friends, family, or support groups when you're struggling. Sharing your experiences with others can help you feel less alone and provide new insights into your challenges. Listening to others and offering support can also be healing, reminding you of your own strength and capacity for compassion. Finding purpose is another powerful way to alleviate psychological suffering. When we have a sense of meaning in our lives, we're better equipped to handle difficulties and maintain a positive outlook. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be as simple as being a good friend, pursuing a hobby you love, or contributing to your community in some way. To discover your purpose, reflect on what brings you joy and fulfillment. What activities make you lose track of time? What issues or causes do you feel passionate about? Consider how you can incorporate more of these elements into your daily life. Remember that purpose can evolve over time, so stay open to new possibilities and interests. While self-help strategies can be very effective, it's important to recognize when professional help might be beneficial. If your psychological suffering is severe or persistent, or if you're having thoughts of self-harm, seeking therapy or counseling is a wise choice. Mental health professionals can provide specialized tools and support to help you navigate your challenges. There are many types of therapy available, including cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based therapies, and psychodynamic approaches. Each has its strengths, and you may need to try different methods to find what works best for you. Remember that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It shows that you're committed to your well-being and willing to take active steps towards healing. In addition to long-term strategies, it's helpful to have some practical tips for immediate relief from psychological suffering. Deep breathing exercises can quickly calm your nervous system when you're feeling overwhelmed. Try inhaling slowly for a count of 4, holding for 4, and exhaling for 4. Repeat this several times whenever you need to center yourself. Grounding techniques can also be helpful for managing intense emotions or anxiety. One simple method is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This exercise helps bring your attention to the present moment, reducing the power of distressing thoughts or feelings. Physical movement is another effective way to shift your mental state. Even a short walk or a few minutes of stretching can help release tension and improve your mood. If possible, spend some time in nature, as this has been shown to have significant benefits for mental well-being. Practicing self-compassion is crucial in ending psychological suffering. Many of us are much harsher on ourselves than we would ever be to a friend. Start treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer to a loved one. When you're struggling, ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Then offer those words of comfort and encouragement to yourself. Developing a growth mindset can also be transformative. This involves viewing challenges and setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth rather than as failures. When faced with difficulties, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can this help me become stronger or wiser? This perspective can turn even the most challenging situations into valuable life lessons. Creating a daily gratitude practice is another powerful tool for reducing psychological suffering. Each day, take a few moments to reflect on things you're grateful for, no matter how small. This could be as simple as appreciating a warm cup of coffee or a kind word from a stranger. Focusing on gratitude helps shift your attention from what's wrong in your life to what's right, fostering a more positive outlook overall. Learning to set healthy boundaries is also important in managing psychological suffering. Many of us take on too much responsibility for others' feelings or allow others to treat us in ways that cause us pain. Practice saying no to requests that don't align with your values or well-being. Communicate your needs and limits clearly and respectfully. Remember that setting boundaries is not selfish, it's a necessary part of maintaining your mental health and nurturing healthy relationships. Cultivating a regular mindfulness practice can have profound effects on reducing psychological suffering. This doesn't have to involve long periods of formal meditation. You can start by bringing mindful awareness to everyday activities like eating, walking, or washing dishes. Pay full attention to the sensory experience of these activities, noticing textures, sounds, smells, and physical sensations. This practice helps anchor you in the present moment and reduces the tendency to get caught up in worrying thoughts. Exploring creative expression can be a powerful way to process emotions and reduce psychological suffering. This could involve writing, painting, dancing, music, or any other form of art that appeals to you. Don't worry about creating something perfect or impressive. The goal is simply to express yourself and allow your emotions to flow. Creative activities can provide a healthy outlet for difficult feelings and often lead to new insights and perspectives. Developing a growth-oriented relationship with failure is crucial in reducing psychological suffering. Many of us fear failure and see it as a reflection of our worth. Instead, try to view failures as valuable learning experiences. When things don't go as planned, ask yourself, what worked well? What could I do differently next time? This approach helps you continually improve and reduces the sting of setbacks. Practicing forgiveness, both for yourself and others, is another important aspect of ending psychological suffering. Holding on to grudges or self-blame only perpetuates pain. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or putting yourself in situations where you'll be hurt again. Rather, it's about releasing the emotional burden of resentment and moving forward with greater peace. Cultivating a sense of awe and wonder can significantly reduce psychological suffering. Take time to appreciate the beauty and complexity of the world around you. This could involve stargazing, watching a sunset, or marveling at the intricacy of a flower. Connecting with something larger than yourself can provide perspective and reduce the intensity of personal worries. Learning to live in alignment with your values is another powerful way to reduce psychological suffering. Identify what truly matters to you, whether it's kindness, creativity, honesty, or something else, and make choices that reflect these values. When your actions align with your core beliefs, you'll experience greater peace and satisfaction, even in the face of challenges. Developing emotional resilience is key to managing psychological suffering. This involves building your capacity to bounce back from difficulties and adapt to change. Practice reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. Cultivate a support network you can rely on during tough times. Regularly engage in self-care activities that replenish your emotional reserves. Learning to challenge and reframe cognitive distortions can significantly reduce psychological suffering. These are common patterns of inaccurate or exaggerated thinking that contribute to negative emotions. Examples include all-or-nothing thinking, overgeneralization, and catastrophizing. By learning to recognize these patterns and question their validity, you can develop a more balanced and realistic perspective. Cultivating self-awareness is crucial in the journey to end psychological suffering. Regularly check in with yourself about your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. What patterns do you notice? What triggers tend to increase your suffering? The more you understand yourself, the better equipped you'll be to make positive changes. Practicing non-attachment can be a powerful tool in reducing psychological suffering. This doesn't mean not caring about anything, but rather holding your desires and expectations lightly. Recognize that everything in life is impermanent and that clinging too tightly to how you think things should be often leads to disappointment and pain. Developing a regular sleep routine is often overlooked but crucial in managing psychological suffering. Poor sleep can exacerbate negative emotions and make it harder to cope with stress. Prioritize getting enough quality sleep each night. Establish a calming bedtime routine and create a sleep environment that promotes rest. Learning to tolerate uncertainty is another important skill in reducing psychological suffering. Many of us struggle with the unknown, leading to anxiety and worry. Practice accepting that you can't control or predict everything. Focus on what you can influence in the present moment rather than getting caught up in what ifs about the future. Cultivating a sense of humor can be a powerful antidote to psychological suffering. This doesn't mean making light of serious issues, but rather developing the ability to find moments of lightness even in difficult situations. Laughter and playfulness can provide much-needed relief and perspective. Practicing radical acceptance can be transformative in ending psychological suffering. This involves fully accepting reality as it is, without resistance. It doesn't mean you like or approve of everything, but that you stop fighting against what is already true. This acceptance frees up energy to respond more effectively to challenges. Developing a growth mindset around your capacity for change is crucial. Many people believe that their personality or emotional patterns are fixed, leading to a sense of helplessness. Remember that your brain is capable of forming new neural pathways throughout your life. With consistent effort and practice, you can change habitual patterns of thinking and feeling. Learning to differentiate between pain and suffering can be enlightening. Pain is an inevitable part of life. We all experience loss, disappointment, and physical discomfort. Suffering, however, often comes from our resistance to pain and our stories about what it means. By accepting pain as a natural part of the human experience, we can reduce the additional layer of suffering we often add to it. Cultivating loving kindness towards yourself and others can significantly reduce psychological suffering. This practice involves directing feelings of goodwill and compassion to yourself, loved ones, neutral people, and even those you find difficult. Regular loving-kindness meditation can help soften your heart and create a more positive emotional baseline. Remember, ending psychological suffering is a process, not a destination. It requires patience, persistence, and self-compassion. There will be ups and downs along the way, but with consistent effort and the right tools, you can significantly reduce your suffering and experience greater peace and well-being. As you move forward on this path, be gentle with yourself. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it might seem. Every step you take towards understanding and managing your mind is valuable. You have the power to transform your relationship with psychological suffering and create a life of greater ease and fulfillment. Now that you have these tools and insights, what will your next step be? How will you begin to implement these practices in your daily life? Remember, even small changes can lead to significant results over time. You have the capacity to end your psychological suffering and live a more peaceful, fulfilling life. The journey starts now, with your very next thought and action. Are you ready to take that step?